Hello there, Stage14 once again. This is my Dawn of Dreams, no damage run, on hard difficulty. This is Stage 14, entitled Yodo's Arrival, which is a pretty interesting name. Makes me think of Yoda for obvious reasons. This is one of those missions where when you get here, the visual design of it is so different to everywhere else you've been, just because it's raining, I guess, that it's really a nice contrast and a fun zone. But the thing with it is all the enemies you face are these zombie guys, and their attacks are a little bit reminiscent of the hollows from Dark Souls 2. They just kind of do a really telegraphed, because that's how that word is spelled, telegraphed swing. But it's one of those laboured and slower swings, so it's quite difficult to Isen. And a lot of the times you'll see that I'll just either magic Isen them, or I'll deflect Isen, because they're much easier than the perfect timing. And through this next room is another one of the Menteith guys. I think the name is Menteith. I don't know. Camera here is kind of tricky too. It does the whole fixed camera position of flipping the direction you're running to, and if you're holding the analog you run back the other way and thus flip the camera again, which is a tenet of the old Resident Evil games. And you might be curious as to why that is. Well, the heritage of the Onimusha series is this was pretty much Resident Evil in feudal Japan. The original Onimusha 1 and 2 were both very gothic and horror based. They were fixed cameras, tank controls, you know, they were pre-rendered backgrounds. It was about as Resident Evil as it gets. And they gradually moved away from that in the third one, and then this is the most they've moved towards action. And it really tells. And personally, I prefer the move towards action, because I do think that this game has a really good combat system in it. I just wish there'd been an Onimusha in the last 10 years, where they'd taken the action and the combat that they made in this game and tightened it and expanded it even deeper, because I really think whatever the next Onimusha is, if there ever will be one, could really be a contender for a fantastic new series, because it's been long enough that there's an entire new audience of players who've never heard of the series, so they'll look at it like a new IP, even though it's, you know, far from that. And it's also been long enough so that the people who are die-hard fans can welcome it with open arms, because they can't quite remember the specifics of what they loved about the game. So enough time has passed to completely revamp the series. It's just Capcom isn't the Capcom it was when it made these games, and they would rather just keep on selling you an iterated version of Street Fighter 4, because the fighting game community is so anal in the way that it plays, that you're forced to pick up the new iterations if you want to compete at a high level and learn the changes. So they've got a big audience of people that just keep on buying the same old shit, and Capcom loves pumping out the same old shit because they've essentially turned into a giant fucking milk machine. You know, when you think about the original titles from Capcom these days, most of them have a number on them. You know, they don't really have too many new IPs, because they get such good sales from things like Street Fighter and Monster Hunter and what have you, so they haven't really needed to be the Capcom that we all grew up loving, because they were making money, and at this moment in time, they aren't. You know, they're starting to fade and sink, and that's why the shares went up and are on the market now to be bought for a pretty high price, and hopefully somebody buys them who's got a fucking soul and wants to make good new games instead of just rehashing games you've already released with stupider titles. But this is I don't know the name of this woman. She might be Yodo, but I don't think that's her name. I think the sister of Ohatsu is Yodo, and this is just, you know, one of the bitches that we have to kill. She's a demon. So I hope you can tap fast, because if you can't, you're going to hate this fight. You have to tap the absorb button to get those crazy poisonous aura off this lady, and if you don't do it quick enough, she will summon enemies, and the enemies are those ninjas that are very fast. On the flip side, you can use the ninjas to Isen the boss, but even then, you want to absorb this and get it off her before she summons anything, because it makes the fight so much easier. And then once she's stunned, you can then proceed to hit her with the Helm Splitter like I'm doing. And the only threat here of taking damage is if she does the dash away and fires the stakes at you, or if she decides to do the combo that she can do when she's a little bit closer to dying, maybe about a quarter of a life bar left. But if you get a good AI pattern like I just did, you will shit on her chips and she'll have no answer.